Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. Thank you so very much for being here. So, where are we? We're on May 7th already. So I thought this would be a good time to take a look and see what's going on politically, particularly in the United States, over the month of May. Is May going to bring flowers or is it going to bring stinkweed? I guess we're going to find out. I'm channeling this. There's sort of three areas I want to look at, which is why I'm choosing to channel. I want to look at Biden in May. I want to look at Trump in May, and I want to look at Johnson in May or slash the GOP, depending on what the energy is. So let's get started, shall we? So let's start with Biden. Spirit, what can you let us know with regards to the energies that are surrounding Joe Biden for the month of May 2024? So what you're going to see to start with is this sort of slow but continual um, increase in Biden doing very, very well in terms of polls. Now, none of us actually should be paying that much attention to polls because I think that they're very biased, and I think that, they slant questions in certain ways to get certain answers. But having said that, it is still very kind of reassuring on some level that his numbers are starting to come up as Trump's are starting to decrease. It also is going to become more and more apparent that RFK is actually dragging voters away from Trump, not Biden. And in part because a lot of Trump's wackiest stuff, like, the whole vaccine thing, is mimicked by Kennedy. And so people who are inclined to think that, there was something nefarious going on with a vaccine that was just trying to save people's lives are going to be drawn to Kennedy, particularly if they feel like, Trump is careening out of control. Apparently, he just referred to the Biden administration as a Nazi Gestapo. Like, come on. So we're going to see increased sort of good news when it comes to Biden poll numbers, etc. There's also going to be a real push of Biden pushing back against two areas, they're telling me, in the month of May. The first one is going to be immigration, because we know that that's sort of the boogeyman that the Republicans pull out when they don't have anything else, right? They manufacture all of these crises at the border and they get people all wound up. You're going to see not only the Biden, but his surrogates starting to push back rather firmly against misinformation with regards to what is going on at the borders. You're also going to start to see a real pushback against the economy and what Biden has done in terms of, job growth and, all of it. Now, listen, everybody is still, or most people are still feeling the impacts of that increased inflation and prices not coming down. Inflation may have stabilized, but the prices are not dropping to sort of pre-inflationary levels. So we're all still feeling the pain of higher grocery prices, et cetera, et cetera. But you're going to start seeing a pushback with that also. There's going to be a real, okay, listen, enough with how Biden can't do anything to help the economy. Here is the list. So as the month goes on, you're going to see an increase in, as I said, him getting the message out, his surrogates getting the message out. And frankly, it's time, right? I mean, we're going into, we're in spring, inching our way towards summer. And there's a need and a necessity for the Biden campaign to start really kind of pushing out these messages in a way that are starting to, resonate with the voters out there. Other than that, Kamala is going to continue to be very, very strong on the campaign trail with regards to women's rights, abortion, that kind of thing, because first of all, she's the right person for it. Okay. Um, and she speaks so passionately about it. And so she's sort of, it's in her wheelhouse. I'll say it that way. So you're going to continue to see that going on also. And they're telling me that there's going to be a bit of a Biden standoff or pushback uh, against Netanyahu. Biden, they're saying, is going to continue to be a little bit more forceful and a bit more aggressive. And in fact, in some ways, just showing downright frustration with the situation in Israel and this sort of inability for Netanyahu to sort of move in any direction that would in any way be sort of helpful to the Palestine Gaza that whole situation. So you're going to see more of that coming out of the Biden administration. Blinken, you're also going to hear from him some real firm sort of no nonsense talk about how this situation really needs to, get under control. It needs to be resolved. And they're not getting the kind of support or not even support. Israel is not interested in accommodating in any way. So that's what I'm seeing going on there. So overall, the month of May for Biden looks like flowers. Okay, he's going to be given some flowers along the way. All right, now let's move to the former guy. So his trial is going to continue. And as it continues, particularly as the prosecution continues with their case, and they're telling me like a week to 10 days is what they're saying in terms of sort of the prosecution getting the whole story out. I don't know that they're going to rest, but that it's going to feel like the whole story is sort of has been unraveled and unfolded. As that happens, you're going to see Trump becoming more, erratic, but that sort of goes without saying, but more, the rhetoric coming out of him is going to really, really be notched up, right? I mean, so the whole Nazi Germany thing, that's going to continue. His comments are going to become more outrageous. They're not going to make a lot of sense to a lot of people. And that includes people who are attending his rallies. If you have noticed, when they show clips of Trump at his rallies, they would be better off, honestly, if they just had, instead of a bunch of people behind him, if they just had like flags or something. Because if you look at the people, like don't look at Trump, because we all know what he looks like and we know whatever's coming out of his mouth is garbage. Look at the people behind him. And what you're seeing is confusion. Kind of, you're seeing very non-reactive faces. The enthusiasm level that you used to see behind him has simmered right down, and by and large, people are kind of standing around going, that's interesting. I mean, yeah, there's some laughing and yeah, there's some clapping, but overall, watch your faces, because they are not the same as they were in previous rallies, at previous campaigns. I am still being told that you can anticipate this trial sort of wrapping up by the very end of May or into the first week of June. I'm also being told that actually the defense is not really going to have much of a defense. They're reminding me of the E. Jean Carroll case, right? Where when it came right down to it, the defense didn't offer a defense. It feels very, very similar in this situation. It feels very much like it's either going to be no defense or a very limited defense. What is happening is that the prosecution has done such a good job and will continue to do a good job of sort of pushing back against a lot of the defenses that, don't hold any water. So it's going to be very difficult for the defense to actually do or say anything that's actually going to be helpful to the Trump side of the situation. And his behavior, it's interesting because I think that a lot of the energy around him really indicated a little bit more volatility than we have actually seen from him. In many ways, he is much more sedate in court than I think people expected, because he's figured out that this Judge Marchand is not going to put up with a whole lot of crap from him. And so he is, in his own way, sort of clamping down, I think, on his outward physical reactions. I can tell you, however, that internally, it's like an inferno, right? It's just like a fire in there. There is so much rage and so much anger. You're going to continue to see him lashing out against his own lawyers because he wants them to be really aggressive, and he doesn't understand that they can only go so far. And then, they put themselves in jeopardy in terms of being on the wrong side of kind of the situation in terms of how they can actually conduct themselves in a courtroom. So you're going to continue to see that dynamic playing out where he's going to be more and more, just being frustrated, with his lawyers and how they're reacting or not reacting. I know I mentioned this in a previous video, but it does warrant repeating. Part of the reason that he seems to be able to sort of appear to be calmer is that he doesn't actually understand the nuances. Okay, so he doesn't understand why a specific set of testimony is particularly dangerous to him. He doesn't get it. And in part, it's so interesting because he doesn't understand why it's a problem that, I don't know, that Weiselberg had handwritten notations in ledger saying, for payment to, Cohen, Stormy Daniels, or whatever, right? He doesn't understand why that's a problem because on a basic level, he really doesn't understand that he broke the law. He knew that things had to be hidden and covered up. He got that at the time. But as time has unfolded, he has become less able to sort of process some of the nuances, some of the subtleties. So part of it is he's not kind of clicking. And the other part of it is, honestly, he really is of the opinion that if he did it, it can't be illegal. And it's in that regard, he stands behind the whole, well, that's just how people are in New York. That's just how business is conducted. That's just how we do it. And he really thinks that if a whole bunch of people do a whole bunch of stuff wrong, then it doesn't count if he did it too. So that's part of why you're kind of seeing this almost toned down reaction, because he doesn't get it. Don't be surprised, don't be surprised if you see another, Eric has sort of showed up in court a couple of times. Don Jr. may show up for a day or so, but he's almost become as erratic as his daddy. So, I'm not sure that that's actually going to be particularly helpful. I do not see Melania. Melania looks like she is MIA. Okay, she is not. She's going to do every single thing in her power to not show her face. The interesting one is going to be Barron's graduation. I don't have a clue when it is, but I'm assuming it's sometimes in May. That's going to be very interesting to see what happens there because, Trump made such a big deal about the fact that he was being forbidden to go to the grad ceremonies. And then the judge said, yeah, no, you can go. We'll give you that time. So what happens if Trump doesn't actually show up? I guess we'll see. So overall for the month of May for Trump, looks like stinkweed, gotta say. Things are not going to go well for him. He is not going to react well to them. I see him still being present, well, physically present anyways, and accountable through the end of May in the court. Okay, so I don't know about June, but as far as I can see, when I get to the end of the May, he's still sitting at that defense table. So that's what we have got going on there. That's what you can expect from him. Johnson. Let's look at the Republican Speaker of the House. Now, I'm recording this sort of late Monday morning, and I know she was supposed to be bringing up that resolution to bounce him out of the speakership, Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's not going to go anywhere. If she actually does it, and right now I'm not even feeling that that's a for sure thing, but if she does, a handful of Dems will step in and save his job. And making it perfectly clear, this is sort of a one-shot deal. They're not going to continue to support this or be in his corner. But for right now, it's more politically advantageous for them to keep him in his spot than to have him removed and throw everything into chaos again. So but he is going to continue to sort of stumble along. It's an interesting energy because as this court case continues, and as Trump's behavior becomes more and more questionable, the people around him, Tim Scott, for example, refused basically to say that he would accept the results of the 2024 election. And as more of this kind of stuff bubbles up and carries on, there are actually Republicans, including Lindsey Graham, who I'm going to do a mini on next, but who really wish he would just go away. Because he is just making their lives so difficult, and more, they don't have a way to extract themselves from the situation, and nor do they have a way to defend themselves against the stuff that they're basically agreeing to and saying is just fine. So there's a growing sort of energy of, really, could this guy just go away, please? That's not going to be spoken out loud, but there's this quiet, real frustration kind of building. And Johnson's the one who's trying to figure out how to navigate that because on the one hand, he's all in. I mean, let's try to remember who was, really pushing the fake elector scheme, right? He was in there like a dirty shirt. But as it unfolds, and, people are starting to see that it's not flying, okay? I mean, you just had a whole bunch of people, in Arizona who just were indicted. People, Republicans are trying to sort of pull themselves back and away from the situation. And he's on a slippery slope. I think he's going to continue to be in that position through the end of May, and I'm hearing into June. but he's going to start, you're going to start seeing wear and tear on him. And he's also going to start saying things that you're just like, oh my God, like how far up that guy's butt are you? Because he's not even going to be making sense in some instances. So he is on a slippery slope. But for right now, it looks as if he is going to hold on. But he will continue to take incoming fire. Just quickly, what I'm hearing is Marjorie Taylor Greene is not going to be able to pick up any speed or any momentum on this. She's another one that they wish would just shut up and go away, because she's just wants to create chaos. And some of these people, particularly Republicans who this isn't their first time around the block, okay? They have some experience. They are starting to become just painfully aware of the fact that they are the ones who look really bad and nothing is getting done, and they don't have anything to tell their own constituents. And so, what they want is for everything to just get quiet so they can just sort of quietly push the things through that need to get done so they can say they've done something. And they're really becoming very frustrated by people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Trump and etc., who won't be quiet. So that's kind of the energy that's going on there. That's what Johnson is dealing with. That's what seems to be going on within the Republican Party, particularly the House. The Senate, that's a whole different kind of energy, right? They just seem to, I don't know. There's a lot of like nervous energy coming from Republicans in the Senate. I don't know if there's going to be sort of more bad news that comes out. I don't know I'm not getting a real clear read on what's going on there, but there seems to be increased amount of agitation. And certainly the fact that, Mitch McConnell, basically said, yeah, I don't care how corrupt he is. He's the leader of the Republicans and therefore I must support. That also has, again, he sent out a signal to all the other senators that you need to get in line behind this guy. And yeah, there's a lot of them who will do that because they see him as the way they stay in power, by agreeing with him. But they're starting to experience more and more pushback from their home base. So that's interesting. So I don't know. Johnson, I don't know. I almost want to say he gets like a bouquet of stinkweed, okay? So that's how the month of May is looking. I think that overall you can anticipate some fireworks. I think you can anticipate some surprises. And I think that you can anticipate an increased, a growing awareness by the general public who are not paying attention. They're going to start focusing in on the stuff that's going on around them and politically. And so there's going to be more just general awareness. And for those of you out there, make sure that you continue to stay involved in the, upcoming and ongoing election process, right? Because it's really, really important that you do. And it's really, really important that support continues to flow to Biden and down ballot. All righty. So that's what I know for today. For the rest of us, let's all have a happy May, shall we? All righty. Until next time, take care and be well. Bye-bye now.